Welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone. The title of this talk is Building Enterprise Grade Intelligent Help Desk Bot Using Conversational AI. Who am I? My name is Prashant G. Bhoyar. I was born and raised in India, came to United States in 2007 for studies. I am University of Maryland College Park alumni. I co-authored a book, PowerShell for Office 65. I also acted as a reviewer for technical reviewer for the book Pro SharePoint 2013 Administration. I am from Washington DC area, and pre-COVID-19 pandemic, we used to organize a lot of in-person community conferences. And now we have converted all our conferences to virtual only. So if you are interested joining us, we typically post the latest and greatest updates about upcoming conferences and user group meetings on meetup.com. You can also check us out on azurecloudevents.com as well, where you will see the link to our YouTube channel as well. So we try to record as much content as possible and then post it for free on YouTube. I am recipient of Antarctic Service Medal. I got this award from US government for the work I did in Antarctic continent back in 2008. I am also recipient of Microsoft MVP award since 2017, and my current category is AI. And right now I work as cloud solution architect at AIS. AIS is a Microsoft consultancy firm based in the United States, and we have offices in UK, Canada, and India. And I focus on intelligent business process automation, where I use variety of the products and services in Microsoft ecosystem, such as Azure AI, bots, Microsoft 65, Microsoft Power Platform. And I work at AIS Washington DC office, which is Reston, Virginia. But the way the geographical locations are around in East US, Virginia, Maryland, and Washington DC are very close to each other. So you can basically drive from one place and it just takes like 30 to 40 minutes. AIS is providing services in Microsoft ecosystem from last 40 years, and we have been recipient of Microsoft Partner of the Year on multiple occasions. And AIS is growing. So if you are looking for a change or anyone in your network is looking for a change, we have tons of openings in US, UK, Canada, and India. And you can check out the openings on going to ais.com, or you can also directly reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter, or you can email me if you would like to know more about the company and open positions. This is going to be the agenda. We'll start with why bots, and then we will then talk about some of the offerings that are there in Microsoft ecosystem that can help you get started with creating the custom bots. That includes Microsoft Bot Framework. We'll also talk about Power Virtual Agent, Dataverse for Teams, and you may be wondering why why Teams is here listed in the topic titled the bots, and there is a reason for it. We'll talk about Azure Bot Service, how to get started. We'll also talk about cognitive services. We'll have demos, key takeaways, and Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to post those questions in the chat window. I'm using two monitors, so I'll be monitoring the chat as well. So before we start implementing bots or virtual agents in enterprise space, it's really important for us to understand where we are in our AI journey. So this is the definition I got regarding AI, which is the effort to automate intellectual tasks normally performed by a human. And we can categorize AI into three categories. And whenever I used to hear about AI, at least 3-4 years before, all I used to think is the sci-fi movies where machines are invading other planets or they are destroying other planets. So when it comes to AI, that is part of the strong AI, where machines are so powerful they can destroy other planets, they can invade other planets, and strong AI right now exists only in sci-fi movies and novels. Now then there's the second category called artificial general intelligence, or it's called as AGI, where machines are very powerful. They can perform really complicated tasks, which are difficult for an average human being. And one of the example I can give you here is, if you have seen Marvel Comics franchise Iron Man, there is a main character called Tony Stark, and Tony has a personal assistant called Jarvis. Now, Jarvis is very intelligent. He can perform really complicated tasks, and Jarvis falls under AGI. And right now, AGI only exists in science, sci-fi movies, and novels. Where we are right now is we are at weak AI, where we have specialized services for specialized tasks. Now, one of the service that you're seeing on the screen is real-time speech to text, and I am speaking in English, and the subtitles are getting generated in Spanish. And for this, I'm using an out-of-the-box feature that comes with Microsoft PowerPoint. So let me show you that real quick, the real like power of this particular feature. So right now, I'm in the PowerPoint and I'm on the slideshow ribbon. And here I have the option of using the subtitles. And here I can go and click create uh, here I can go and change the subtitles to English as well. So let's see, let me go ahead and quickly do that. And if I start this and if everything is working right, then sooner or later you'll be seeing that the subtitles are now getting generated in English as well. So when it comes to AI journey for us, we are here where we have specialized services for specialized tasks. So, however, when it comes to implementing the chatbots, uh, there is a limit in what we can automate. So the things we can automate or think that our chatbot can do is all limited to where we are in our AI journey, which is weak AI. And we as a humanity is working really hard to go from weak AI to AGI and from AGI to strong AI. And these are the different products or different term concepts or different terms you may be hearing about in the news or in the literature. And all these terms are actually part of AI in general. So this is the mission statement from Microsoft, where they would like to make the AI and data science accessible to everyone. And it doesn't matter what kind of device you're using or what is your role in your organization. And some of the services or some of the offerings that are coming from Microsoft actually quite align really well with this mission statement. So when it comes to AI, so we have the core services are part of Azure AI, where we have under AI apps and agents, we have Azure Bot Service and Azure Cognitive Services. Under knowledge mining, we have Azure Cognitive Search, and under machine learning, we have Azure Databricks, Azure Machine Learning, and Azure AI Infrastructure. Now, if you have a background in Microsoft 365 or Microsoft Power Platform, there also Microsoft has some AI services. For example, in Power Platform, we have AI Builder. In Microsoft 365, we have SharePoint Syntax. Those services or those products under the hood still uses Azure AI. So the core services in Microsoft ecosystem are part of Azure AI, and depending on your expertise and skill set, you may be using one over the another. So these are some of the links you can follow if you would like to get started with your journey in AI services in Microsoft ecosystem. And if you're like me, like I had this question like 3 or 4 years before where I started playing with Microsoft's AI offerings. However, I didn't know where to start. So you can follow this flowchart where when to use what. So if you are interested in building your own machine learning model, then Azure Machine Learning is for you. And depending on where you would like to host that, there are multiple options available to you. If you're like me, who's more interested in the applied AI side of the business, where you're more interested in consuming the pre-trained or pre-built services, then Azure Cognitive Services and bots are for you. Then now let's talk about why bots, why we have to invest time in creating bots or virtual agents in the enterprise space. So if you recall, during the keynote of Microsoft flagship conference called Ignite, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella has mentioned quite a few times that bots are the new apps now. And bots provide us more natural human computer interaction. It helps us to automate a lot of repetitive tasks and free up the resources. Bots are available all the time. Depending on what technology you use to create the bots, bots can be available wherever you are. And also bots can adapt depending on the user circumstance. Bot can adapt to the user depending on the circumstances. However, one of the key advantage or one of the key quick win I can see with the implementation of virtual agents or chatbots in the enterprise space is it can automate the repetitive task and free up the resources. If you are working in help desk or if you are providing any kind of IT support, or some of your coworkers are doing that, and if you talk to them, majority of them will mention that most of the tickets or most of the issues they receive, 50 to 60% are very simple and can be resolved very easily. In those kind of scenarios, we can use bots or virtual agents, and the more complicated issues then can be handled by the actual help desk personnel. Now, Ever since COVID-19 pandemic has started, a majority of the organizations had to start working remotely. Some organizations were ready, some organizations were not ready. And if you ask any organization, the number one department that had the most horrible time or most torrid time during that phase was the IT department, because IT department had to support all the remote employees within the notice of 1 or 2 weeks. Some companies had a sophisticated policies and procedure in place. Some companies did not have that. And also the IT companies, the people who were working in that department also had to work remotely. And if they have kids at home, they had to work on a different schedule. So in that kind of scenarios, the virtual agents or chatbots really help you to provide support whenever your employee needs. That way, you don't have to run your IT support 24/7, because that is very expensive operation. So you can have like during on non traditional hours, like during the night time or early in the morning. If someone has an IT issue, then they can talk with the chatbot and virtual agent, get the question answered, or get the required help. And if the issue is complicated and required a human intervention, then that a ticket can get created automatically, and then your actual head desk personnel can take a look at that. Also, bots are appealing, efficient, easy, and natural. And if its implementation is done right, it simplifies the UI. And if you go with Microsoft ecosystem, depending on what technology you use in Microsoft ecosystem, we can deploy the same bot to the multiple channels. Now, if you are familiar with Microsoft Teams, the channels in the context of Microsoft Team is different as compared to the channels in the context of Microsoft bots. Bot channels in the context of bot means we can deploy that bot to different services or different products. For example, I can build a bot and I can deploy that bot to as a web chat on Microsoft Teams, Skype, Facebook, Twilio, Kik, Direct Line, and also bot may help you to connect with young users. We are already familiar with bots in our personal life. Like if you are a customer of a major financial institution, for example, Citigroup, HSBC Bank, or Bank of America, and if you call their customer service number, chances are the first line of defense from this big financial institution is a voice-based bot. Now that bot will ask you questions. Depending on your answer, that bot may provide you with the information that you are looking for, or it may transfer your call to the actual human agent. Now, slowly, the bots are getting entered into the enterprise space as well. And if you would like to implement bots using Microsoft Stack, then we have two options. Number one is platform as a service, and second is software as a service. Under platform as a service, we have Azure Microsoft Bot Framework, which is an open source SDK and tools, and it's built for custom bot development. It's ideal for developers. Right now, you can use C Sharp, Node.js, Java, and Python to create custom bots. However, if you would like to deploy your bot using Azure Bot Service, then only C Sharp and Node.js is supported. What does that mean is, if you are using Python or Java to create your custom bots, then you have to host that bot somewhere else, and you cannot use Azure Bot Service for that. And you can go to this link to find more information about Microsoft Bot Framework. Then there is a second offering called under software as a service called Power Virtual Agent. It provides you a no-code experience for bot development. It's ideal for business users and domain expert to easily build a bot. If you are familiar with this tool, then within a span of 1 to 2 hours, you can have a really sophisticated enterprise-grade bot, and you can deploy that in your organization. Behind the scene, it uses the Microsoft Bot Framework and also the underlying Azure AI services, like some of the Congress services. But you as a user doesn't have to worry about it at all. Like everything will be taken care by Microsoft. You just have to go to the designer, the Power Virtual Agent designer, and start configuring your bot's business logic. And you can go to this link to find more information about Power Virtual Agent. There is another product available called Microsoft Bot Framework Composer. It's an open source visual authoring canvas for developers. There is a really good integration story available between the Composer and Power Virtual Agent, and you can also use Composer to build the custom bots as using Microsoft Bot Framework as well. And you can go to this link to find more information about Bot Framework Composer. There is a somewhat new offering from Microsoft called Microsoft Dataverse for Teams. Now, you may be wondering why I'm talking about Dataverse for Teams in the top titled bots, right? And there is a reason for it. So Dataverse for Teams is a low-code data platform for Microsoft Teams. It supports to build low-code, no-code apps, flows, and most importantly, chatbots that will work within Microsoft Teams. And when you create a chatbot as part of Microsoft Dataverse for Teams, we will be using Microsoft Power Virtual Agent to create that. And the license for Dataverse for Teams is inclusive in most of the existing Teams licenses. What does that mean is if you have a valid Teams license, and under that license, if you can get access to Microsoft Dataverse for Teams, you can create chatbots for free using Power Virtual Agent. Now, only caveat is that chatbot will work within the Microsoft Teams UI only. That means you cannot deploy that chat to other supported other channels. But as long as you have a use case where you would like to deploy a chatbot and that chatbot should work only within Microsoft Teams, then you can definitely take advantage of Microsoft Dataverse for Teams. And you can go to this link to find more information about Microsoft Dataverse for Teams. So now we have seen that we have multiple options when it comes to the bots. We can use Power Virtual Agent. We can also use bot framework to build the custom bots. Now, let's say if we have a Fusion team and that Fusion team would like to take advantages of both the technologies, how they will work together. So here, on the top of the pyramid, you have Power Virtual Agent, and behind the scene, it is built on Microsoft Bot Framework and it is hosted using Azure Bot Service. So your citizen developers can create custom bots using Power Virtual Agents. Your pro developers can create bots using Microsoft Bot Framework, and they can host that in Azure Bot Service. And these custom bots can then talk to each other by using something called Bot Framework Skills. There is a really good integration story available where I can create 4 or 5 bots using Power Virtual Agents. I can create 4 or 5 bots using Microsoft Bot Framework, and they can talk to each other using something called Bot Framework Skills. So Power Virtual Agent, and again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about Power Virtual Agent because this particular product requires its own dedicated session itself. But it's a latest addition to the Microsoft Power Platform. And Microsoft Power Platform is a low-code platform that spans Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, Azure, and standalone application. And it is built on the top of Microsoft Power Platform, and behind the scene, it uses Azure Bot Service and Azure Community Services. And it has a really good integration with other Microsoft Power Platform products like Power Automate, Power Apps, and Power BI. So we can easily connect our bots created using Power Virtual Agent to the outside world using Power Automate. And Power Automate comes with more than 300 connectors, and you can build your own connector as well. That means without writing a single line of code, I can create a bot which can talk with, let's say, something like Salesforce, or which can talk with uh, other proprietary legacy system using the REST services call using HTTP as a connector. There are multiple scenarios are possible. And if your data lives in other SaaS service, or if your data lives in on-premise services, you can still integrate that with your custom bot that you will be building using Power Virtual Agent. And behind the scene, the Power Virtual Agent is built using Microsoft Bot Framework, and it uses all the cognitive services which are available in Microsoft ecosystem. You can see in the right hand section, I have the designer screenshot of the designer. So this is how the user interface of Power Virtual Agent looks like, where using the drag and drop functionality, you will be designing your user experience, and you can test the bot itself within the Microsoft Power Virtual UI itself. And these are the links you can go to find more information about Power Virtual Agent. If you are totally new to the bots in Microsoft ecosystem, I highly recommend you to try Power Virtual Agent because you can try Power Virtual Agent for free. Just see whether you like the experience you're getting, and depending on then what you would like to do with your custom bot, then you can either stick with Power Virtual Agent or you can use Microsoft Bot Framework for its implementation. When it comes to the Dataverse for Teams, only difference will be you'll be still using Power Virtual Agent to create the bots. Only thing is that Power Virtual Agent UI will be available to you as part of the Teams client. That's the only difference that you will be seeing here. And the chatbot that you will be creating will only work within the Microsoft Teams client only. Now let's talk about what is Microsoft Bot Framework. So Microsoft Bot Framework, as I mentioned, is an open source SDK and tools, and it is built for the custom bot development. Now, if I had to simplify the bot, a bot is nothing but a website with a different kind of user interface. So you will be hosting your bot as a web service, and your bot will be constantly exchanging the messages with the different channels or products where you have deployed your bots to. And your bot can connect with your other legacy system or other SaaS services. And if you would like to add the human intelligence to your bot, then you have to integrate your bot with AI services. And when it comes to integrating your bot with AI services, of course, the recommended services are Microsoft Cognitive Services. However, you can also bring your own AI services as well. For example, if you are an AWS shop, or if you're an IBM shop, or if you're a Google shop, and you would like to use the AI services from these vendors, or you have your own AI services, you can also integrate that with your custom bots as well. However, it is really, really important that you integrate some AI services with your bot, because, as I mentioned, a bot is nothing but a website with a different kind of user interface. And without the addition of AI services, your bot will not be an intelligent bot. Now, these many channels are supported, and you can find out the latest and greatest information about the supported channels by going to the Microsoft documentation. Now, this I get this question a lot. Like, I would like to use Microsoft Bot Framework. However, what are my options are when it comes to hosting that bot? Do I need to stick with Azure, or can I host that bot somewhere else as well? So, if you are using Microsoft Bot Framework for creating the custom bots, the recommended option to host your bot is Azure Bot Service. However, if you are not a Microsoft shop, or if you don't want to use Azure Bot Service, you can also host those bots on VMs. Uh, and that VM can be in Azure or any other public cloud, or that VM can be your on-premise server as well. We have seen some implementation where the clients had some on-premise legacy system or legacy software, and they wanted to host the bot there itself, and they didn't want to host the bot in any of the public cloud. In that case, you just have to do some preparatory work. You have to download the bots builder SDK and some required tools on the server that you will be using to host the bot. However, you can host the bot locally as well, and you don't have to use Azure Bot Services all the time. However, it is a recommended service because it comes with a lot of inbuilt features. But the point I would like to make here is, if your company is not willing to go to the public cloud and you still want to host your bots locally, you can still use Azure Bot Framework, Microsoft Bot Framework for that. So this is the flowchart, typical flowchart you will be following when it comes to building your bot. Bot development is fairly new. The industry is not as mature as, let's say, traditional desktop development or mobile app development. So you will be spending a lot of time in the planning phase and in the evaluate phase. In the planning phase, we will be working on authoring the dialogues, the design card, and visualize how exactly the experience will be when it comes to the bot. Then you will be using bot builder SDK in the build phase, and to add intelligence, you can use something like cognitive services or some other AI services. There are a lot of templates available that you can use to speed up your development process. Then you can use a cross-platform open source product called Emulator to test your bots locally on your machine. And to get the telemetry of your bot, you can use a product called Application Insights. Again, Application Insight is part of Azure. Again, it's an optional product. You can also use your own product as well, which provides you a telemetry information. Then you deploy your bot either to Azure or to your own web host, and then you connect your bot to a different channels. And then the last phase we'll be spending a lot of time is constantly evaluate how your bot is performing, whether users are satisfied with the answer that the bot is providing, or whether they are leaving the conversation in between because they're just not getting what they're looking for. So those kind of telemetry information you can capture, and depending on that information, then you can evaluate and read and then make some tweaks into your bots. Now, if you are serious about creating custom bots, then where you can start creating, where you can start your development, right? And these are my personal thoughts. Your approach may be a different one, but this approach has worked me really good over the years. So if you are going to host your bot using Azure Bot Service, start with the Azure portal. Register your bot in Azure portal there. deploy your like the bare minimum bot there, and then Azure portal gives you a really good option of downloading the source code that Azure portal has used to create your custom bot. And then once the source code is on your machine, then you can start implementing your customization. uh, Another option is, if you're not going to host your bot in Azure Bot Service, then only option you have is start your development locally on your machine. Use the emulator to test the bot and deploy it to the virtual machines of your choice. Now, when it comes to creating a really meaningful bot, you have to integrate your bot with custom AI services. Now, Microsoft Cognitive Services are one of the recommended one, where you can easily add intelligence to your bot. Now, what are cognitive services? So, Microsoft Cognitive Services are pre-trained services available to us as in the form of REST-based API. And all we need to use Microsoft Cognitive Services is we just need the access to Azure. We just need to create the specific cognitive service, gets its endpoint URL and key, and you can start using that cognitive service with any language or a platform of our choice. So we can use any language. That means I can use C Sharp, Node.js, Python, Java, Objective-C. There are many languages are there. As long as that language supports consumption of REST-based API, we can use that. If you are using any uh, automation tool, RPA tool like WinAutomate or um, UiPath or Blue Prism, and if that product allows you to consume REST-based API, you can also use Cognitive Services with that as well. And some of the algorithms, the machine learning algorithms that this pre-trained services use behind the scenes is actually product of Microsoft Research Group. And there is a lot of good documentation available on Microsoft sites on GitHub. And if you are stuck and you would like to ask a question, you can go to Stack Overflow, where Microsoft is paying people to monitor that and provide you the answers. So when it comes to the bots or when it comes to the conversational AI, these are some of the services that are there in Microsoft Cognitive Services that we will be using quite frequently to create the bots. The number one service is Lewis Language Understanding Intelligence Service. There is Azure Search as well, Q&A Maker, Bing Speech API, Speaker Recognition API, Translator, and Custom Speech Service. So in this demo, it will not, in this particular session, it will not be possible for me to cover each and every service. But what I'll be doing is I'll be quickly creating a bot while I'm delivering the session using Q&A Maker service. Just to give you an overview how easy it is to create a bot and have it up and running. And then I will show you how to download the source code and then start implementing the customizations in it. With that, let's go to the demo part of it. And if you are using dual screens here, you can also follow the steps along with me. So what I'll be doing is I will be going to my Azure portal, and just to have my subtitles displayed, I'll be just readjusting this window here. All right, looks like this is good. Oh no, let me resize this a little bit, and let me do this. Now use your favorite search engine and use your favorite browser, and just search for Microsoft Q&A Maker. And the link we are looking for is this one, qnamaker.ai. So go to this link. And again, before that, let me quickly give you a 2-minute overview of Microsoft Cognitive Services. So let's use your favorite search engine and favorite browser and just search for Microsoft Cognitive Services. And the link we are looking for is this one, Cognitive Services AI APIs for AI solution. So if you go to this link, here we'll be seeing information about this particular offering, what are some of the APIs are available. And if you scroll down, the APIs are categorized into 4 categories: speech, language, vision, and decision. And under language, if I go, then recently they changed the name for the Q&A Maker service to question and answering. And there is also entity recognition, translator, conversational language understanding, sentiment analysis. If you click on vision, there is a computer vision, custom vision, face API. If you click on decision, it's analytic, content moderator, and personalizer. So let's go to language and let's quickly click on question answering. And here it basically gives you information about how this particular service works and some underlying information about this service, what kind of options that are there when it comes to configuring the service, and who are some of the companies which are using this service. And on Here you will see information about pricing and some other documentation as well. So with that, let's go to this particular Q&A and here you need to log in with your account. And by the way, to use this service, you need to have Azure subscription. Without that, you cannot use that. So the first thing we'll be creating is we'll be creating a knowledge base using this service. So the way this service work is we will be creating a knowledge base from an existing content. Like most of the companies, they have some information on their public facing website in the form of question answers. You can also create this particular use this service to for your internal use and enterprises as well. For example, if you have any frequently asked question about IT support, or if any frequently asked question about employee benefits, and that information, if it's available in your intranet as a Word document, PDF, or as a Excel file, you can also use that. So the first step is we need to create a Q&A maker service. So for that, if I click on it, it will launch a new tab, and I'll be getting redirected to the Azure portal. And here I just had to configure a few things to create my Q&A maker service. So I'll be using my subscription, and then I'll be using the resource group there, and then just give it a name. So let's call this as Comunidadailive AI 2021, and then we have to select the pricing tier. So by default, like you can also use a free tier, and I highly recommend you is if you are trying this service out, go with the free tier. However, free tier comes with a caveat where you can use free tier only once per subscription. I have already used the free tier in my subscription, so I'll be going with the paid tier. And then you have to specify the location for Azure search. I will recommend you to select the location which is geographically closer to your user base. So I'll be going with East to West and say the Azure search pricing. I can go with the free or I can go with the paid one. I'll be going with the paid one this time because I already used the free tier once. And then this is going to be name of your Q&A Maker service app, and this is going to be the location where the service will be hosted. And then if you would like to enable application insights, which is optional, you can also make sure you use the same location as your other assets are, which is in this case is East to West. Then click on review and create, and just click on create. And this will take maybe a minute or two for the service to get created. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to post those questions in the chat window so I can answer those. So far I don't see any questions, but I see a couple of links posted. So thank you very much. And those links are pointing to the Power Virtual Agent. So right now, the deployment of this Q&A Maker service is in progress, and this will be done in the matter of 30 to 120 seconds. Okay, it's still going on, and it has done bunch of steps and looks like the deployment is complete. So once this is done, I will be just closing this and I'll be going back to my Q&A Maker portal. And here I'll be just refreshing it one more time. And again, I didn't have to do this. I can just use this refresh option. So we already did the step number 1 where we created the Q&A Maker service. Now let's go to the step 2 where we just click refresh. And this one will get me all the available Q&A Maker service from my Azure subscription. Then make sure you select appropriate Microsoft Azure Directory ID, and then select the appropriate subscription, and then select the service. Now you will get this error message, especially if you have just created the Q&A Maker service. So allow the service for 1 to 2 minutes, and if you get this error message, just come back to the step 2, click refresh, and try to add this service here. And sometimes I have seen within the matter of 30 to 60 seconds, this error message goes away because this service needs time to provision some backend assets. Now let's try again. Looks like everything is already configured now. So now what we've done is we have selected our Microsoft Azure Directory ID, subscription name, the name of the service we just created. And here we can select the language. Now pay attention to this particular phase. So when it comes to selecting the language, we have multiple options or only 2 options. We can either use chit chat and extraction or only extraction. When it comes to chit chat and extraction, one, two, three, four, around 8 to 9 languages are supported, and Spanish is one of them, English is one of them. Or when it comes to only extraction, the list goes on and on. So I'll be going with English this time, and then we can name our knowledge base. So right now we are going through the COVID-19 pandemic. So what I'll be doing is I'll be creating a knowledge base based on the latest and greatest information about the COVID-19 pandemic. And since I am from United States of America, I'll be using a government, US government website for that. So that website is CDC COVID-19 FAQs, and I'll be just going to that particular site's page and see if any information is available in the form of question answers. Looks like there is. So I'll be using this as my starting point. So let's call this as commute that AI 21 with 19 KB. And then the most important step in this particular operation is step number 4, like how you would like to populate your knowledge base. Again, this step is optional. You can also create an empty knowledge base as well. However, it is highly recommended that you use some pre-existing content for this one. So I can provide this existing content from a, a public facing website, or I can also do this, provide the content from my in the form of TS, TSV, PDF, doc, docx, and Excel file. And I can, if that is the format I will be using, then I had to download that file on my machine and add it using this particular option. So here I'll be just using a public facing website from US government regarding corona using COVID-19. And then here you can select the chit chat. Now, chit chat will give you a persona for your knowledge base. I highly recommend you to use the persona depending on what is your target audience. If you are targeting this for your team members, then go with the none or professional. If you're trying this for, let's say, for internal quickly testing out, then you can also go with a witty as well. So in this case, I'll be going with witty. And then we just have to click on create a knowledge base. And this step should take anywhere between 1 to 2 minutes, depending on how much content we have on this particular page. So what this service is doing right now is, while creating the knowledge base, it's scanning this page, and any information that is available in the form of question answers, it will grab that and create the question answers automatically for us. And again, this will take maybe a minute or two, and this is a really good time to ask any questions that you may have. All right, so the knowledge base is created. And as you can see, after a few seconds, you will be seeing all the information that is available on this particular page is captured here in this service under knowledge base in the form of question answers. And here you can see the source from where exactly this question came. Here there is a question. I can edit this question. I can edit the answer as well. And when it comes to answering, I can make sure I can enable the rich text editor. And when it comes to the rich text editor, then I can add images, I can add hyperlink. There is a lot of options available to us. Like I can add image, I can add a link, I can add emojis as well. Now, the first thing I'll be doing is I'll be just clicking on save and train. So what this is doing is all the question answers are there. It is now using this information to train the Q&A maker service. And once it is ready, then we can quickly test out using this Q&A maker UI itself. So here, if I type, what is COVID-19? And if there is a question around it, if the answer is there, then it will just come back with the answer. You can also add your own Q&A maker pair as well. You can add some follow-up prompts. You can add alternate phrasing. For example, here I'll be adding what is COVID. So here we are trying to mimic like how a user may ask the question to the bot. And when it comes to like when we are trying to mimic the human experience, now whenever it comes to us, like we humans, we typically communicate with variety of the ways. For example, if I had to ask you how are you, I can ask that in multiple ways depending on how close I am with you. I can just simply say how are you, or if I'm really friendly with you, I can also like hey, I can also say yo what's up, or I can just like use any other terms or words which are very much common between the friends. For example, I can also ask yo homie how are you doing, so those kind of things you can do. And when it comes to implementing the virtual agents, we're trying to mimic the similar kind of the experience as well. That's why this add alternate phrasing is available. And we can also do some add follow prompts as well. However, whenever you do any kind of change, just quickly do save and train. And once that is done, then you can quickly test this out. So let's do start over. And what is code? And if the answer is there, so looks like this is not able to comprehend that, because most likely it is still using the old information, because we have explicitly added that. So let's try this again. What is COVID? All right, looks like most likely we need to do some wait a few minutes, or we may just need to publish this so that this particular service can get this again. So I'll be just closing this, and the next thing I'll be doing is going to the publish option and quickly click on publish. So this will be published. This will button is now publishing our knowledge base. So now we can consume this knowledge base via multiple ways. So the first thing we see here on the screen is we can consume this knowledge base via a bot. But if you scroll down, you also see there is a sample code available to us, that is we can use to consume this service via a postman or via curl. Now, what this tells us is this particular Q&A maker service is available to us in the form of REST-based API. That means I can consume this REST-based API from my custom apps as well. Here I have an example where I have a postman client, and what I'll be doing is I'll be quickly using this particular URL and make a postman a call. So here, let's see, let's go back. Let's remove this one. And let's add the additional part, which is where our key is there for the Q&A maker service. So let me add as my URL here. Then if I go to the headers, all I have to configure is what is the content type and what is my the endpoint key is. And that information you can get from here. So let's copy this and let's post that here. And now if I go to the body section, all I had to do is in this particular format, I had to ask my question. So if I just go here and paste this, and in the question, just replace what is COVID-19. And if everything is correct, I should get a response back in the below section. So as you can see, this is how the response came back from the Q&A maker service. So what this tells you is we don't have to explicitly create a bot from this service to use this service. We can, let's say if you have a custom ASP.NET app or a Node.js app, you can still use that. And from that, you can call this service to get the question answers from here. But however, what we'll be doing is I will be creating, sorry, not this one. I will be creating a bot from here. So click on this button called create bot, and this will launch a new tab with the Azure portal where we will be configuring a bot. So the first thing we have is bot handle, which is automatically selected for us, but you have option of changing that. Then the subscription name, the resource group, the location, the pricing tier, I'll be going with the free one. And I will be just taking the name of the bot. So if you remember, I mentioned to you is a bot is nothing but a different website with a different kind of user interface. And as you can see, we are creating a web app bot here. And this particular bot will have this particular URL. The name we have be given .azurewebsite.net. Now we have to select what kind of language we'll be using, C Sharp or Node.js. Again, remember during the beginning I mentioned, if you are using Azure Bot Service to host your bot, then only option available to us is C Sharp or Node.js. So in this case, I'll be going with Node.js. Automatically, this URL has added the Q&A maker authentication key for us. This is going to be the app service plan that we'll be using. Then I'll be just going with click create here. And if everything is right, then our bot will get created within few seconds. So right now the deployment is in progress, and within few seconds we will have our bot, which is available to us using Azure Bot Service. So while this is happening, please let me know if you have any questions or any comments so far. All right, I take that as a no.
Yeah, for the moment there are no questions, but please, if anyone who is watching this presentation, if there is anything, okay, yeah, it is almost done.
Okay.
So this code can be deployed in different channels, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay,
So right
perfect.
now the bot is deployed now. So let's go to the resource, and now we are in the Azure portal, and our bot is deployed. And here, if we, in the left hand navigation, if you click on bot profile, so here you can provide the custom icon for your bot. You can also provide update the display name of the bot. However, your bot handle is going to be the one that you selected for the first time, and you cannot really change that. Now, if you click on the channels here, so by default, whenever you launch a bot that create a bot using Azure Bot Service, that bot is always available as a web chat. But you can also add support to additional channels. So if you scroll down here, there are multiple channels listed here. And some of the channels may need some additional configuration, but you don't need to necessarily do any kind of changes in the code itself. So for example, if I would like to use the same bot inside Microsoft Teams, all I have to do is click on Microsoft Teams here, agree to the terms of service, and then specify what kind of tenant I will be using, whether it's going to be a commercial tenant for Microsoft Team or it's going to be for government. So if I will, for in this case, I'll be going with commercial and click save. And within few seconds now, if I go back to the channels again, my bot will be available to consume via in Microsoft Teams as well. But before we do that, let's confirm whether our bot is working or not, and we can do that right here in Azure portal itself. So towards the middle section, you see there in the left hand side there is an option called test in web chat. So I can go here and quickly start testing this bot. Again, if you are deploying this bot for the first time, it may take like a minute or two before you can start testing your bots, because the Azure has to do some additional steps behind the scene. But looks like our bot is ready. So let's ask what is COVID-19. And if everything is working right, then this bot is basically went back to our Q&A maker service, got the answer, and it is showing that answer on our screen. Now let's see how easy it is to use this bot in Microsoft Teams as well. So I'll be again going to the channels. I'll be just right click on this one, copy the link address, and I will be opening up my Teams here in the web browser. And once the Teams is loaded, I'll be just opening another tab and copy the URL we just copied, and then I'll just use the web app instead. I don't want to use my the Teams client. I just want to use the Teams in browser, but you can also use the Teams client as well. And if everything is right, we should be able to communicate with this bot via chat in Microsoft Teams. So right now you can see here, this is the handle we selected. So the things are getting ready for us. And once everything is there, we should be able to start interacting with this bot within Microsoft Teams. So if I go here and type hello, looks like now we are communicating with the bot. So let me type what is COVID-19. And if everything is right, then the bot should be able to communicate with Q&A maker service in the backend and should come back with the answer. So how easy it is to this is how it is easy it is to add the support for multiple channels here. So far we haven't written a single line of code for our bot, right? And our bot is ready and we can access it via Teams. If you really want to deploy it to Teams, however, this is not a way to communicate with the bot, because we are communicating with the bot using the unique identifier. If you really want this bot to be deployed in your organization, you have to do some additional steps, which unfortunately we are not going to cover in the remaining time because we just have 9 minutes left. However, you can read Microsoft documentation in case you would like to deploy these bots in your Teams infrastructure. So people can use the bot's handle name and start communicating with it instead of using its unique identifier. Now let's go back here, and now you like what you saw, and you would like to do more changes in it. So what we need to do is click on the overview here, and here you see this option of download bot source code. Now just click on yes, and now this particular portal is generating the source code for us. So depending on what language you selected, whether C# or Node.js, then you have to use a corresponding IDE to open the source code. I have used C# in this case, so I'll be using Visual Studio to open the source code of this bot. And once the source code is generated, which just takes typically 1 to 2 minutes, I'll be able to download on my machine, and I will be able to open the source code and start implementing the changes in it. So as you can see, the source code is ready. Let's download it, and let me move it to a different location, and then I will be just unzipping it, and I will show you on the screen real quick. So give me a minute while I'm doing the steps. So I got a zip file and I'm just extracting that, and extract. And now I will have the source code of the working bot on my machine here. And depending on what language you have selected, you have to use appropriate IDE. In this case, I have used C#, so I'll be going with Visual Studio. Right click on the solution file, click on the version selector, and now Visual Studio is opening the source code of this bot on my machine. And I should be able to then start implementing customization. I should be able to start debug this bot locally using the bot emulator on my machine, and I can start adding additional customization. However, if you register your bot first in Azure, then the bot is already there and it's working. And I just need to download the source code now and start implementing my changes in it. So let's go and start right click on it and click build. So this will add any supporting package that this bot needs. And once everything is added, the bot will be ready to be tested on our machine. So you can see the bot is succeeded, and I can run this bot locally on my machine as well. I can go to debug, and if I start local instance, then this bot will be running locally on my machine using the local host and a specific port number. Since we have 6 minutes left, let me quickly cover a few other things that I wanted to cover. So when it comes to creation of some of the practical application using the conversational AI in the enterprise space, these are the different things we can do. The number one use case I have seen is the create in-house helpdesk bots, but you can also create a lot of other things as well using the combination of bots and cognitive services. If you are serious about implementing bots in your organization, and if you are confused between which one to use between Power Virtual Agents and Microsoft Bot Framework, you can use this slide. These are my personal thoughts, by the way, but this can give you some idea like how these two products are stacked against each other. So when it comes to the Power Virtual Agent, it's really easy to create and test bots. When it comes to Microsoft Bot Framework, since you have to learn the new SDK and you need to be a pro developer, there is a steep learning curve. The ideal target audience for the Power Virtual Agents is IT pros and power users, and you can be a citizen developer. Whereas to use Microsoft Bot Framework, you need to be a pro dev. When it comes to maintenance and enhancements, they are really easy with Power Virtual Agent. Since it's a pro dev specific product, you will need, it's a little bit cumbersome when it comes to Microsoft Bot Framework. One of the key advantage going with Power Virtual Agent is you don't have to worry about any AI services at all. All the AI services are already added for you by Microsoft. Whereas if you are starting with Microsoft Bot Framework, you need to integrate AI services to your bot to make your bot intelligent. There is an inbuilt support for analytics is there. There is no direct support for analytics is there when it comes to Microsoft Bot Framework. You need to use Application Insight or some other related tool. Microsoft Power Virtual Agent a little bit expensive to begin with, uh, because it's a SaaS offering. When it comes to the bot framework, they are inexpensive to begin with. However, you need to take into account a lot of different services like Azure Bot Service, App Insight, Search, and Cognitive Service. You have to combine the cost of it and then find out how much it's going to cost you to create a custom bot. Whereas when it comes to the Power Virtual Agent, everything is already created for you. You just have to pay Microsoft the subscription cost. And again, when it comes to anything in Microsoft ecosystem, just always don't go by the prices you see on Microsoft public facing website. If you have a huge usage, like if you are going to consume this product in a large amount, then you can always talk with a Microsoft rep and get work with them to get some discount on the pricing. So if you would like to get your hands dirty with Power Virtual Agent, you can follow this link and get your own Microsoft 365 subscription. Then using that, you can get access to the Power Virtual Agents for free. So go to this link, sign up for Microsoft 365 Developer Program. And once you sign up, in the welcome email, you can create your own Microsoft 365 tenant for free. Create a tenant. With that tenant, you will be a global admin. That tenant come with E5 subscription, which is the highest level of subscription, and it will come with 25 users. And that tenant will have Exchange, Online, SharePoint Online, Teams, Planner, Power Apps, Power Automate, and you can also sign up for free version of Power Virtual Agent, or you can also sign up for trial of Power Virtual Agent. And since you will be a global admin, you will have all the required access you need. This tenant is valid for 90 days. And if Microsoft sees that you're using this tenant for personal training and development, Microsoft will automatically renew this tenant for additional 90 days, and they will keep on doing it as long as you are not violating any license terms and this program is active. You can also sign up for the 1 month trial. And to use cognitive services, you need to have access to Azure, and there are multiple ways to get your personal Azure subscription. My recommended way is if you have access to MSDN, go to your MSDN portal and activate your monthly credit. That way, you don't have to use a credit card. And in case you go over, then your subscription will stop working. However, you will not have to pay for additional charges. You can also sign up for free trial where you need a credit card, and depending on your country, you get some specific credits for free for a particular month. There's another program available from Microsoft called Azure for Students, where you don't need a credit card. All you need is a valid edu account from participating schools or institution. And depending on your country, you get some predefined credits. So you can go to this link to find more information about that. So hopefully the contents we covered today made you explore the bots and cognitive services, and you will go home and play with it. And these are the references I use, and these are my contact details. In case you have any follow-up questions, feel free to contact me on LinkedIn, on my email, and I'm also available on Twitter. With that, thanks for coming. Stay safe and stay healthy. And I think there is one question on in the chat. So, what do you think about conversational AI? So, if you ask me, conversational AI is going to be mainstream now. If you look at uh, the advancement in technology, what we had first is when we start interacting with computer, that time everything was type, right? Then came the next phase where the mouse got introduced, and most of the then application went into right click, left click, and we can use mouse to get a lot of things done, or do drag and drop. Then the next evolution came with the touch, where now everything is touch based. Now we are at the fourth kind of revolution where everything will be using voice, and you can already see that a lot of investment and a lot of adoption is happening in that space, where uh, Amazon has Alexa, Google has Google Home, Microsoft has Cortana, and the usage of these devices is increasing at rapid pace. So sooner or later, you will be seeing where the conversational AI will be mainstream as compared to how people will work with things. Like right now, we mostly use type, mouse, or touch. But sooner or later, you will be seeing the conversational AI is the one where people will be using the most to get their work done. So hopefully that answers your questions. If there are any follow-up question, do let me know. Otherwise, we are at about time. So thanks for joining us. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye bye.
Yeah, thank you, Prashant. Actually, if you have time, just one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you mentioned that we can use our voice, uh, do you think we can trust big companies? Because in this case, they will probably store our voice, or
Mm-hmm.
they will use
Okay.
it just for improving the models every time to recognize ourselves, or
Okay.
probably some people are concerned about that
Yes.
privacy issues.
Yes, so that is a really valid concern because the way machine learning works is it constantly needs to feed in new data to train the model to make them better. Now, that's where the ethics in AI comes into picture. Now, all these big vendors they have like if you go to their privacy pages, then they have some specific information like how they are capturing the information and what they are doing that information. For example, if you go to Microsoft site, they are especially regarding community services, they are mentioning that they are not using our data to train their services. They already have used uh, their own data to train it. And in case you would like to provide your own data for this services to get improved, then you have to just work with Microsoft, sign some agreements where you can provide your own data. But so same is not true with other vendors as well. Like each vendor will have their own policies that they will stick with. That's where it's really really important, especially if you are using any IoT devices or any other smart devices. Most of these devices are not coming from really well funded organizations, and guess what, the number one thing that they tend to save cost on is security and privacy. So that's where you have to be a little bit cognizant in some, like you have to use your own judgment when it comes to using the IoT devices and some other smart devices, and find out who the vendor is and what that vendor's policy is when it comes to your custom voice and custom stuff that you are, or your own data, and what they are doing with that data and how they're maintaining that data.
Perfect. So it is always important to
Mhm.
read the terms, what we are agreeing to, and
Right.
yeah, whether we are signing to. So, okay,
Correct.
excellent. Prashant, thank you very much. Luis, any final words, any final question?
No, I just wanted to take Prashant again. A really great presentation.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
You are welcome, and see you next time in
Thank you.
future events. So have a good day.